same tribe. Let's buckle up and take this ride. Somebody grab a djembe. We can all join in together. Somebody grab a djembe. Let's lay it on the table. I'ma break the ice, tell you all about my life. Lay the cards on the table. We are part of the same tribe. Let's buckle up and take this ride. Somebody grab a djembe. We can all join in together. Somebody grab a djembe. Let's lay it on the table. I'ma break the ice, tell you all about my life. Lay the cards on the table. We are part of the same tribe. Let's buckle up and take this ride. Somebody grab a djembe. We can all join in together. Somebody grab a djembe. Let's lay it on the table. I'ma break the ice, tell you all about my life. Lay the cards on the table. We are part of the same tribe. Let's buckle up and take this ride. Somebody grab a djembe. We can all join in together. Somebody grab a djembe.
Hey y'all, seeing if a friend of mine is going to join us here today. Trying to see if good friend of mine, we've been collaborating with one another for the last several years in this space, but she also had a lot of things going on today. So what we're going to do is go on and get started, and if she's able to join us, we're going to do that. And so just want to say thank you for everyone who were able to join today. I expect people are going to be joining us off and on throughout the hour. They're going to be together. And I'd say I'm super excited, a little nervous, of course, because, you know, this is a new thing. It's not my first venture. For some of y'all who may have remembered back in the day, during the COVID pandemic, because I was all by myself, had a cooking show called Chopping Up with Kazike. And so this is my second venture into something, and hopes that this will be a really positive experience. And for you who don't mind, invite other folks who you think might want to enjoy this experience together. And so again, my name is Kazike Prince, and we're here to talk about everything djembe. I have a number of things I want to go through and just, share with you. One of the things I was actually playing just a moment ago was our djembe jingle. There was a DJ online who I invited him to create a song for me, and we're calling it the djembe jingle. So I'm going to give it a couple of seconds. We're going to play it. If you haven't heard it, you can actually find it on Instagram pretty easily. Hopefully you can hear that. Hey there. Good to see y'all. Thank you for joining us. We're just getting started playing our little theme song here. It's our djembe jingle that we just got early this year. I'm going to play it for a minute or so, and then we're going to get started and allow people to join. All right. Well, again, my name is Kazike Prince. Just glad to be here with you today. I wanted to make sure I had covered all the information I wanted to cover in our time today. We're going to be together for about an hour, so we're going to end here. As I mentioned earlier, I might be able to bring one of my good friends to join us today. She had a really busy day today, and so we'll see if she's able to join us. We'll see here in a moment. But part of our time today is to actually, allow us to experience djembe. Some of y'all have heard about it, you've seen the videos, but maybe you haven't actually purchased a card deck. And so today we're actually going to experience the card deck. And we're going to go through several of the different cards. And as an introduction to you, I want to just tell you a little bit about what Djembe is all about. First of all, Djembe was started back in 2021. I actually wasn't able to do a whole lot with it, but during that time, I really just used that opportunity to develop something. And what I was looking for was the opportunity to replicate myself in a cost-effective way. And so Djembe came out of that motivation to provide a cost-effective, useful tool to get people talking with one another about topics that they typically have great difficulty talking about, whether it be around race, gender, ability, because it's taboo. We're not sure what to ask. We're concerned about saying the wrong thing. And so Djembe is an attempt to provide a tool so people can have these conversations and make those connections with one another. This is intended to be a tool that's used like we're using here online with your friends and colleagues. It's intended for you to be something you use at work to help people work together more effectively, because if we can learn about one another, if we can deeper understand one another, the likelihood that we'll actually deeply understand each other to solve some of the biggest challenges we have, the more likelihood that we're actually going to fulfill our mission and or make more money. And so that's the point behind the Djembe deck. Just to give you a little bit of overview of what the deck is all about. First of all, there's three different card decks. Well, let me go back a little bit. First of all, there's a lot of people who say Djembe because they see the D in front and the DJEMBE. It must be Djembe. And I'm like, no, the D is silent. And so it's pronounced Djembe. And Djembe actually comes back from West Africa, basically, several thousand years ago, where they're actually creating a drum. And if you don't know anything about drums, oftentimes these drums are created. Hey there, it's good to see some of you folks who are joining. The drum was created out of this idea that certain drums were made for certain groups of people, right? It was based off of hierarchy and status, different positions, maybe different tribes. And what we found out is that there was a group of folks that was in Mali, what's present day known as Mali, who said, let's create a drum set or drum that anyone can use, regardless of what culture or tribe you come from, what status you may have. Let's create a drum that anyone can use and enjoy and share with other folks. And so Djembe literally means bringing people together in peace. Bringing people together in peace. And so it seemed like an obvious name that I should use for this card deck, because that's my intention, is to bring everyone together in peace. And so that's where we started. And as I was beginning to say earlier, there's 3 different card decks, and we're going to go through a little bit of each of these. The first one is the grounding cards. That's where we just start off and we kind of just ease up on it. It's kind of like on your first date, and you don't want to just overload them with too much information, right? You don't want like, in their face. You want to kind of slide in, things like, where you from? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite restaurant? Are you a foodie or not? Those kind of easy questions you kind of lay into just to get to know somebody. And that's what the grounding cards really sets that foundation. And then what we'll later go into is the engagement cards. And those were a little more depth, a little more difficult. I've heard from people say, those cards are kind of hard. Well, they're intended to be really to spark thoughts and experiences and ideas, in hopes that it will get you really thinking and sharing with one another. And then we'll end with the celebration cards. And the celebration cards are really intended there, again, to provide an opportunity to celebrate literally what your experience was with other folks. And so as we're kind of waiting for folks to join us here today, I just wanted to give you an overview of what the Djembe Card Deck is all about. And so, as I said before, looking to hopefully have a friend of mine join us here today. And if they're able to join us, I'm going to have them come on and share and talk with one another. And so, want to just move on. Just gave you a nice little introduction. Wanted to see if any folks had any comments. Wanted to see things. I'm seeing folks who are on here now, or folks who are here in this area. For folks that don't know, who might see this later on, I'm based here in Austin, Texas. My hope is that we get a card deck in everyone's hands across the country. And so So the first thing I want to do is kind of do a warm-up activity as we kind of talk about this card deck to give you an experience that I think will be of real value to you. As I mentioned to you earlier, and if you like, you feel free to respond in the comments section, and there just share your experience or your response to the prompt that you're going to see. And like I said before, this is the grounding card. These are just kind of get us warmed up. And so the first card I'm going to share with you is this one. It says, let me know what. Let me reverse my camera so you can actually read what is on this card without a problem. There we go. And so the first card that we're going to cover is here. A way I can move through discomfort is blank. A way that I can move through discomfort is blank. And if you like to respond through the comments, feel free to do so. A way I can move through discomfort is blank. And I'll be honest, for me, when I'm trying to move through discomfort, this being one of them, because it's just first time bringing folks together, first time being on Instagram Live. And one way of moving through it is making sure I eat before I come on camera, before I come on Instagram Live. Make sure I have a nice full stomach. Now, some people, they eat a full stomach, they risk, scattering all over the place. For me personally, I need food in my stomach because then things start turning up and next thing you know, things are piling all in each other. The other thing is that I'm a big guy, got a lot of energy going on here. And so I make sure these fans are on because I live in the state of Texas. And in Texas, you want to keep things cool. And so I am here with the fan on, with a stomach full. I decided to go on down to, where is it? P. Terry's. Went down to P. Terry's, had me a chicken burger. So I got a full stomach, make sure nothing, going on there, and turn on the fan, close the curtains so nobody's looking at me going, why is he talking to himself? And so that's how I move through discomfort. I hope folks feel comfortable sharing their comments about how, and again, the prompt is, a way I can move through discomfort is blank. A way I can move through discomfort is blank. All right? And if you have opportunity to respond to that one, feel free to respond in the comments. I'll give you one more at least here for you to review. And this one is, someone who loved me into being is blank. Someone who loved me into being is blank. And if you want to share in the comments, feel free to. I'm making sure to say, I see one person, Juliana, says she walks it out. When you're trying to move through discomfort, sometimes it's nice to take a little walk around the park. When you're dealing with some of that stress, you got all that tension inside, walk around the lake, the park, your neighborhood. Maybe you hear some not so great news at work or from a family member, or maybe your kids are having a not so great day. And so you're walking around, you walk it out until it's gone. And so it's really great to hear that's how you move through discomfort. So thank you for that. If you have other comments, feel free to share those. But the next card I'm going to share with you is, someone who loved me into being is blank. Someone who loves me into being is blank. Now, someone is going to read that a little differently, and that's the intention. For me, I have so many people who I just want to honor and respect. The person who comes to mind for me is my mother. Unfortunately, she passed away 13 years ago, but the way that she was willing to sacrifice and teach and deal with a lot of stress and strain. Oftentimes had to watch her, because she was only child, to care for her parents. First was her mother, my grandmother, who passed away due to colon cancer. She was also diabetic, and having to care for her and work with her and support her father, my grandfather. And so having to watch her support them through a really difficult time. And we actually moved from California back to Texas, and so we weren't actually with them. But when she passed away and we arrived to return, really having to watch my mother support my grandfather through a really difficult time. Because when you've been married for as long as my grandparents were, that's a lifetime of memories. And so having to watch my mom support her, my grandmother, support her father, my grandfather, and then have to be there for him during his times that were difficult. And so what she did was model for me grace, dignity, to ensure that their dignity was in place. A bunch of stories about my grandfather, but speaking specifically about my mother, just watching her as a single mom, dealing with some really difficult circumstances as she was trying to raise me and my younger brother. There's so much to reflect on her, but she had a certain grace. And what I loved a lot about her was, she was executive in public housing up in Tarrant County. And then up on stage, she was very much, very regal, very, very demure. But at home, she had such a way of just cracking me up and my brother. We had a way of cracking her up, and she would just laugh and fall on the ground. And so she just allowed me to know, time and place for everything. But she really showed me how to be my full self and not just one way or another. And so that is someone who loved me into being, and who I found to really be a special person in my life. And so with that said, again, just want to give shout out, Juliana, thank you for your response. Anyone want to share someone who loved them into being? Claudia, I see you're on there. Thank you so much for joining us. I saw some other folks who joined us earlier. If you want to share, feel free to share someone who loved you and into being. We'll definitely have opportunity for some Q&A later on. And so through our time together, feel free to share any questions you may have about Djembe and what it's all about. We just finished doing the grounding cards. There's several of these cards. FYI, Djembe, the entire deck involves 107 cards. 107 cards that cover a variety of different topics. Those topics range from race to ability, gender, LGBTQ experiences. It really covers a vast variety of different topics. And the reason being is that while race may be a very salient or a very important aspect of who I am in my experience, it's not the only thing. And it's not the only thing for other people. Some people, as you probably are familiar, don't even see race as something that they want to focus on or even talk about. But what the card deck is an attempt to do is to talk about what that experience is like. What is it like not to have a race in your opinion? Or things that are more important to you, like your gender. Maybe something else as far as around maybe ability is more important to you. And so the card deck is an attempt to really cover 7 different areas, including things like wellness and well-being. And so you'll see that reflected throughout the entire card deck. And what I want to do is transition to the engagement cards. The engagement cards are really, that's where the meat, the rubber hits the road, the meat and potatoes. And as I mentioned before, the 7 different categories. And so if you feel like compelled to, feel free to share your thoughts and your responses to each of these prompts. And we're going to go through a number of them. And so the first one I want to go through is this one. Some family traits I share are blank, blank, and blank. Some family traits that I share are blank, blank, and blank. Well, one family trait that I share, and again, feel free to share in the comments things that you may share as far as family traits are concerned. I'll tell you one thing, it wasn't the height. I'm the tallest person, one of the tallest people in my family. Most of them are pretty short. But one of the things we used to talk about, whether it's right or wrong, but it was our hair texture. Not just texture, but my mother and I now, you might be looking at me and say, what you talking about, Kazuke? You ain't got no hair. But when I did have more hair on the dome, one of the things my mother and I shared, and others in my family shared, was the lack of gray hairs. Don't really have that many gray hairs, thankfully. But, I'm a proud 53-year-old man. And as you can see, not too many grays here. It was this whole black don't crack kind of thing, right? Another aspect that I share also with my mother is color eyes. My grandmother, my mother and I all have some variation of hazel, light brown, some version with a little bit of blue somewhere in there, and just to mix things up. And so that's a quality that we all shared. Another quality that we share is education. My actually 5 generations of educators, including my daughter, who actually teaches at a local high school. And so education has been something you've seen throughout the generations in my family. From, as I mentioned, 5 generations, including myself. I've taught at the college level primarily. I actually worked on some nonprofits in New York and other places. And so those have been places that I really have focused on education. So eye color, lack of gray hair, and education are the 3 areas that really have been a focus for me. Oh, I see. We have some person says a smile, unwavering optimism, and soft caramel skin. Yeah, all about that soft caramel skin. You know, put a little coconut butter on the skin. You know, make it smooth. Now, some people have that naturally. Some of us got to work on it because, you know, them elbows. You got to work on them elbows and them knees, and I don't know. Some of y'all, I find the top of my head is the part that gets the driest. But if you got it natural and it's caramel, say la vie, do your thing. But it helps quite a bit to have something that keeps things nice. But thank you for sharing that, Claudia. It was really nice to hear from you. If you have others want to share, feel free. But I'm going to move on to another area. When I was a child, I loved to play blank. When I was a child, I loved to play blank. Now, feel free to share your experience in the comments. And while you're thinking about what that may be, I'm gonna tell a terrible story, but a true story, because as a child, I actually loved this game. Now, this is a game. I hate to even admit this, to be honest, but there was a game we used to play, and I'll tell you the rules. The rules were, this is elementary school in California, and we usually had like a football, and it was usually almost all the boys, but we had a few girls out there as well. And we would run around the soccer field, and we would just run. So basically, you're running around whoever has the ball, and you ran after that person until they decided they were tired and would throw up the ball, or they would get tackled and had to release the ball. And and once you released the ball or you threw it because you didn't want to get tackled, someone else, would take the ball and run again. And we would just run in circles. And we would do this for 20, 30, 40 minutes. I would get the ball. I felt like I was the fastest kid at the school, was close to it. And I just loved this game. Loved it. I did not know the name of the game was so offensive. I feel ashamed to even admit it, but I loved this game. I loved it more than Foursquare. Foursquare is when you took a game and you had 4 squares, you know the rules, and you played this kind of competition until you got to the 4th square and you were the champion and you held that spot. That was only second to the game we called Smear the Queer. I feel so much remorse knowing about this game. But we played it, and it was a game we played, and I played it at more than one elementary school, 9 high school, in elementary school. And we played that forever. And that was my favorite game growing up as a kid, along with Foursquare and a few other games. Some of y'all may have played tetherball. You know, when you had the like a volleyball that was on the end of a rope, and you just smack it until you came to the end, and or the other person caught it and made it go the other direction. Some of y'all may have played tetherball, but we played tetherball, Foursquare. There was plenty of basketball, but, I wasn't really good at it. I mean, I was taller than everybody, but I wasn't very good at it. And then, again, not number one game, but kickball. Who didn't love kickball? Now I was oftentimes, I was one of the better athletes, and so the teachers would let me be the team captain for the class. And so one of the things I enjoyed was being able to pick the worst person on my team, because I didn't want that last person. I knew what it like to be the new person or the odd person out. And so I would intentionally pick the person who I knew was trash in kickball and pick them first on my team. And then what I found out is they would surprise you by being actually catching a ball at a critical point during the game. But those games were always, I'll be honest, second, because I just loved running around and tackling, and I don't even want to mention it again. But that was my favorite. That was my favorite growing up. Let's do another one, because we're getting on here on time. And again, if you feel the need or desire to share your experience, your response to the prompts, feel free to do so. The next one is, fairness is important to me because blank. Fairness is important to me because blank. Fairness is important to me because of blank. And I would say fairness is important to me, and feel free to share in the comments your sense of fairness and why it's important to you. Fairness is important to me because I don't know, I've experienced being treated unfairly. I've experienced racism. I've experienced sexism. I've experienced being mistreated because I was the youngest person in the room. I've experienced all types of bias, and I imagine you have as well. And so anytime you feel excluded or left out or made to feel invisible, or that your opinions and thoughts don't count, those are times when things just don't feel fair. Now, life isn't fair, and people will tell you that all the time, but I don't like it when things aren't fair. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it's, it doesn't allow everyone to sit at the table and have their voice heard. It doesn't allow make sure that people's different needs are being met. It ensures that people are not dying unfairly. It makes sure that people are share in the wealth of this country and in the world and the abundance that is about this entire world that we live in. It's not fair that people don't get when they should get high quality education, a good health care. Those things are about fairness in my mind. And so when people are not being excluded, despite their hard work and their best aspirations to be successful in life, to me, it's not fair when those things are not distributed. Now, everyone has a different idea of fairness, and I think that's where oftentimes we run into conflicts. But for me, that's why I don't like fairness, because I don't like the experience and feeling of being excluded. I know what it's like. I've seen people who I care about who've been excluded, and it's just real simple. It's not fair. I'm gonna do one more card. Let's see. Maybe we'll do one or two more cards here. And again, we're still in the engagement cards. The first ones we did were the grounding cards to kind of ease us into the experience together. It would be this kind of virtual circle. This and right now, if you're wondering, this is kind of a virtual circle. Each of you are in this experience together with me. And as the facilitator, I am the Djembe Fola, right? That's what your role is. And Djembe Fola literally means bringing what's the word? Bringing giving voice to the djembe, right? You're facilitating the conversation and getting people talking with one another, and so that's what it's really all about. I see Claudia say if not, it would be boys only game. It was. This is back to the story I was telling you earlier about the game where we run around in circles and tackle each other or throw the ball around. It was mostly boys, but this was the third, fourth grade. There's some girls they was hard. They had hard edges, and there was a couple of girls I'm pretty sure I was running away from. There was one there was a girl named Claudia, and she used to wear boots every day to school. And I typical boy, third grade, I would pull her hair. She had these little pigtails, and I pull her hair. And she looked back at me, and she'd say something in Spanish and tell me off, and I didn't know what she was talking about, but I just giggle, and I pull it again. And I'll wait until the teacher wasn't looking, or maybe she left the room for a moment, but then I'll go pull it again. She just looked at me. She said, "I'm going to get you during recess." Remember recess? Yeah. Get you during recess. We go out to recess. This little girl was running after me with them boots full. Now, the good thing is I was faster than her. She couldn't catch me. But she waited until recess was over, and recess was about, 30 minutes. It felt like maybe it was longer. I don't know. And she catch me in line. That little thing, she catch me in line, and she kicked me in my shins. Now, I don't know about you, but there ain't no meat on the shin, and she used to kick me in my shins. So, you know what? If she's out there, I remember you. kicking me in my shin. But the truth of the matter is, I kind of thought she was pretty and cute, and so I didn't have the means of like really sharing. So yeah, that's what we do when you're little, back in the day. With that said, welcome, Vicky. It's good to see you. Thank you for joining us. We're in the engagement cards, and the card that I want to share here is something that shifted in my masculine feminine expression is blank. Something that shifted in my masculine feminine expression is blank. That's, I wrote these things, but, they're not all easy, right? And so I would say, growing up for me personally, there was some very clear ideas of what boys do. Boys don't cry. Boys are hard. Boys don't play with dolls, even though we play with action figures, which are just dolls. But there's certain, stereotypes or understandings of what a boy can do. Boys, now, I grew up during the 80s and 90s and in the 70s, and now we still dance back then, but there's a certain way you're supposed to dance. If you're going to dance, you can't look too like into it. You got to be kind of cool. Remember when hip hop started, you just kind of, this is what guys do. And so one of the things I had seen shift in myself is that, and maybe it's because of what I listened to. I was a big Prince fan, and I listened to Prince music, and, he kind of was crossing genders. And so something I became willing to shift in my understanding of what it meant to be a man or be masculine or be a boy was being comfortable with these things that seemed girly, right? So whether it was synths, whether it was music that I listened to, like listening to love stories. I mean, only girls watch those things. But I had a mother who exposed me to those kinds of things. And so seeing those kinds of things was something I become accustomed to. And so things that seemed masculine actually turned out, that weren't, I should say, things that seemed feminine actually adopted a part of who I am as a person, and hopefully the kinds of qualities that I share with both my children. I have a son and a daughter, and so that's one. I'm looking at the time. I want to share another one. Here we go. And again, feel free to share your thoughts and comments and responses to the prompts in the comment sections. But the one I'm going to share here is my citizenship gives me the rights and privileges of blank. My citizenship gives me the rights and privileges of blank. At this time and stage of our society, the world we live in, it's something special, to say the least, what citizenship provides you. As a citizen of this country, born here, it has not questioned my status. Now, don't get me wrong, there's things going on today that I can be questioned, because there are immigrants from countries of people who look like me. So whether it's from the Caribbean, from South America, from somewhere in the African continent, or other places, people could assume I am not a citizen. But I get to declare my citizenship. If people hear my voice, they'll hear that, hey, he sounds like he's from here. I have an ID and birth certificate that say that I'm a citizen. And what that comes is at least the illusion of confidence. At least the illusion of confidence of not being mistreated because of my citizenship. Now, I might get mistreated because of other reasons. But when it comes to citizenship, I have the privilege of being confident that that won't be used against me necessarily. And so I think that's one of the things that I walk away with as far as citizenship is concerned. Let me take a moment to look at my notes, make sure I'm following what I'm intending to do during our time today. Again, I want to say thank you for folks who've joined us. If there's anything that you want to share with the group, feel free to do so. As I mentioned to you earlier, we started off with the grounding cards. We're now into the engagement cards and covering several different topics. I'm gonna go ahead and do one more card, and then we're gonna move forward. I like this card particularly because for those who know me, I'm a psychologist by training. Welcome here, VH Gonzalez. It's good to see you. This card is a myth about mental disability I've noticed in my community is. A myth about mental disability I've noticed in my community is blank. And something that I've noticed growing up, it was that, if you had a mental disability of some sort, you were just, there was no help for you. You just gonna have to pray it away. Pray to the Lord and take care of it. For me, that was a myth, and what I found out for myself is that you can actually get help. There were still people who I knew thought of mental disabilities as maybe a curse, but it was always something that seemed like the negative connotations. And it wasn't for everyone, but there were some elements there. And so it was something I had to kind of learn more about and navigate, so people who may have had a mental disability hopefully weren't mistreated. And what I found out in my work is there's a lot of folks who had different mental capabilities. And so I've learned over the years to this is something that's very fundamental to me. How do you ensure that every person you come in contact with, as much as possible, can walk away with their dignity? So whether it's a mental capacity or ability or disability, if it's physical or things like gender, how do people walk away with a sense of dignity, regardless of who they are and what they bring to the table? And so that's something that was really important to me. That's something that I grew up with. And so I'm going to end the engagement cards. If you want to share your thoughts and your experience in the comments, whether it be some of the past ones or more recent one, feel free to do so. What I want to do now is want to give you want to kind of highlight a few things. One, now if you're thinking about questions you may have about Djembe, feel free to share that with me. Be more than willing to share those. There is a place where you can ask some questions, so feel free to ask your questions there. But want to highlight here is that right now, between now and the holidays, I'm offering a 10% discount for those who are interested in purchasing the Djembe Card Deck. 10%, all you need is use of the word, the code gobble up Djembe. Here we go. I'm gonna put the code, discount code. Here we go. And so if you're interested in purchasing the card deck, you can get a 10% discount as part of your attending today. But use that code to get a 10% discount to use this. Now the holidays are coming, and some of y'all are ready. I know. You're thinking about whether you're gonna have turkey or pork, some kind of the butt. Is the butt? I don't eat pork, so I don't know what the proper name is. But isn't there like a big piece of porkness that comes with the Thanksgiving holidays for some people? Maybe that's Christmas. I don't know. But others, it's gonna be turkey. Others, it's not gonna be any of those. The vegans and vegetarians are like, nah, we ain't gonna do none of that. But it might be, for me, it's collard greens. And I don't know what your combination is, but collard greens with some mustard greens, and maybe one other green, I can't off the top of my head, but some people put meat in there. I prefer to have turkey parts. Others use pork parts. Some just use actual seasoning. But broccoli cheese casserole is a staple in my family. It feels like dessert, but it's not technically dessert because it's with the rest of the meal. But candy yams has so much sugar, I'm pretty sure you're going to walk away with some diabetes. But I've sometimes made that, sometimes I don't. But candy yams is something that's popular. Now, I know there's an ongoing debate amongst some of my folks in my community is the difference between dressing and stuffing. I did not grow up with stuffing. I don't know what it is. I know stuffing comes in a box called stovetop stuffing. And I didn't like that. And for me, the main difference between stuffing and dressing is the cornbread part. Yep. I know when I start talking about dressing, the accent comes out, but it's not really there. It's just me making one up. The point is that I grew up with dressing. For those who know me, I was married for a period of time. My ex used to make an Italian dressing that had like sausages in it. And we would take out the pork sausage and the beef sausage and replace it with a turkey or chicken sausage. Delicious. It's probably the only other dressing I'm okay with, but it's an Italian dressing, right? And then the other one that I grew up with was a cornbread dressing. Those are the ones I like. That's what I consider a traditional turkey meal. Okay, assuming all that goes well and you're enjoying yourself and you're like, this food looks good. You're probably looking over your shoulder because there's someone in your family who you're just like, oh boy, here they're here. They about to say or do something. And they may have already said something. Maybe they were late. I don't know, but you know who they are. Uncle somebody, aunt somebody, your sister, your cousin, your mom, your dad, your brother. They gonna say or do something that's gonna piss people off. And so the good thing is in a lot of families, especially if you have a large family of folks coming together, it's best to have some games to play so you don't have too much idle time. Now you can watch the football game if you want to, maybe you can go outside if it's warm enough and do some things, like maybe watch the kids play, maybe have some beers and talk about the latest thing. I was actually thinking about my favorite little drink. It's called the Uncle Nearest, but I'll tell you about that later. But the point is, everyone has that thing, but then they have that family member. And you need some games sometimes. And I would highly recommend that you purchase the Djembe deck for your family events, whether it be during Thanksgiving or the other holidays. You got Kwanzaa, you got Hanukkah, you got Christmas, of course, you got New Year's coming. And this is a wonderful card deck that can be used to help your family and friends and colleagues have different kinds of conversations about tough conversations or tough topics. So again, the discount code is gobble up Djembe. You can use it on the webpage at djembedeck.com. I'll put that here in the chat for you. Real quick, 1 second. Here we go. Boom. Feel free to go there anytime and share. And I am Claire Millions. Good to see you, Claire. Thank you for being here with us. But if you like to purchase it online, you can. And again, you get a 10% discount using the code GobbleUpDjembe. I just wanted to open it up to see if there's any questions that people may have. One of the things that are most common for me that I get is, well, how large or small of a group can you use the card deck with? Well, you can use it. My recommendation is use it anywhere between 2 to 8 people. 2 to 8 people. Ideally, the sweet spot is 5 to 6 people. But again, anywhere from 2 to 8 people. Because it covers a variety of different topics, the next question I get is, what's the age range? I would say anywhere as young as high school age students to as old as you want. The only thing I would remind you to be kind of conscious of, because, you know, when you're dealing with minors and having these kinds of what can be tough conversations, you may want to look through the deck and get a sense of what the prompts look like. There's nothing particularly provocative that's in there, but you have to look at your comfort level and also what are the norms of the community that you're in, the family, your place of work, and see what there's tolerance for. But I would highly encourage you to go through the card deck, see what they look like, and then if there's some that seem, I'm not sure if we're ready for that one, you take that one out. But then you have still 100 other cards that you can use for the experience. And so those are the two most common ones: is what's the the number of people who can play, and what's the age range. When I have a room of 100 people, what that usually means is that you have several card decks. Oftentimes what I'll come in is actually train the facilitators, the Djembe Folas, so they're feeling maybe a little bit more prepared, so they can actually have the experience and facilitate the discussion with the larger group. And we break them down into smaller groups. Again, want to get away from that philosophy where everyone's kind of having this kind of debate. Everyone's kind of, how you doing? Friends of Gary Bledsoe, good to see you. Everyone's kind of debating. The point of the card deck is not to get people to debate. The point of the card deck is to get people to, one, listen, but also experience and share their experience with others who are willing to listen and learn, right? And so there's some really basic premises here about listening and learning, about sharing your own thoughts. The great thing about the card deck is that it allows you to be the expert on the things that you know, which is yourself. Who else is in a better position to talk about who you are and what your experiences are but you? And so this card deck positions you to talk about your experiences, but also be in a space with others who are willing to listen and hear and learn about you. And that's how we connect with one another. We find people who we think may be very similar to us or very different and really learn about one another. I've done this card deck with people who have been married 20, 30 years and walk away after experience with card deck for an hour or two and feel like, hey, I learned things about them that I never knew before. And the truth of the matter is that for a lot of people, let's say an interracial couple or people from maybe different cultures, maybe one's immigrant, one's from the U.S., or even if you're from the same racial background, but you're from a different part of the country, you find out that there's things that you've never talked about. You just never asked. It just didn't seem like there's a reason for it to come up. But the card deck brings it up so you can have the conversation in a meaningful way and deepen your understanding and knowledge about one another. But imagine what a card deck like this could do for people who don't know each other. And so that's what the card deck is intended to do, is really deepen our understanding of one another. And if you're part of a business, the card deck is there because it helps us to, one, better know each other and understand each other so we can problem solve, but also innovate, because that innovation leads to making more money. And that's what we're looking for. And that's what the card deck is intended to really accomplish. But hopefully, if you have any questions, you put them in the comments. Those are the most common questions I get about the card deck. I do want to let folks know that my intention here with this Instagram Live is to have this experience every week for the next several weeks, several months. Hopefully, we'll see what the traction may be, and to have different experience with the card decks. Hopefully, invite different people to be a part of the experience and join, and so we can share this experience together. But if you have questions about the card deck, feel free to share with me. I'll be more than willing to answer those questions. But let's move forward. As I mentioned to you before, there is a giveaway, not giveaway, but there's a discount for folks who have joined us today. If you're part of our listserv, feel free to join the listserv at djembedeck.com. But we've asked people to, or I've invited people, I should say, to get the 10% discount on the decks, whether it's one deck or several decks. So if you want to buy 10, 20, or 30, there's definitely a discount for you in doing so. And so one of the last things I want to do with you before we wrap things up is go through the celebration cards. The celebration cards are the last deck of cards, and these cards are intended to have a nice, graceful exit from the experience together. We start off with the grounding cards to kind of ease us in. We went over several engagement cards today and kind of really hopefully dug in. You hopefully learned a lot about me, and you learned about some folks here in the comments who joined us today. And so now we have the celebration cards, and the celebration cards are intended to really kind of allow us to wrap things up. This is the opportunity to kind of maybe share and reflect things that we experienced during the experience, the circle today. And so I'm gonna look through these real quickly, and the one that I'm gonna share with you is, I'm leaving here today with blank. I'm leaving here today with blank. I'm leaving here today with blank. And I'll share, and if you would mind sharing in the comments, but one of the things I'm leaving here today is a sense of excitement. Excitement because of the opportunity I think this provides for us to share with one another, to join and get to know each other in a meaningful way. That's a powerful, I think, useful tool that we could use to get to know each other. And so I'm really excited about the opportunity to share this with you, to hopefully answer any questions you may have, but just provide an experience that allows you to see the gift that this, I think, is to our community, to really dig deep and dive into one another and share and learn. Another celebration card is, I spoke my truth. I spoke my truth when? I'll tell you. I was not feeling a lot of pride about telling you the story around my favorite game I had back in elementary school. Hey, Sutton. Thank you for joining. Sutton, good friend of mine, had a big important day today. Thank you for joining. I know you had a long day today, and but I hope you're recovering well. It's good to see you on here, and I'll be looking for a text message from you. But thank you for being here. But I took a big risk earlier. At least it felt like a risk because I was acknowledging a game that I don't feel a lot of pride. Now the game itself, as far as what we did, I liked and enjoyed, but the name of the game, I don't feel good about it, and so I won't repeat it here. Not that it was, I mean, it's bad enough. And so the point is, I feel like I was speaking my truth by acknowledging and hopefully being a little vulnerable with you about something that I feel some level of regret around. Truth is, I was a kid, and this is just the game that we called it, and it was kind of given to me. And I'll be honest, I didn't know any better. I didn't even know what a queer was, and didn't even think to know that it would be something negative. But I know now, and I've known for quite a long time. But I tell that story to you just because I think we all share in those moments where we may not feel a certain pride, or maybe we have some regret or some frustration, or maybe, dare I say, some shame around things that have happened to us in the past. And this one maybe is a smaller one, but there might be bigger things. But I think it takes a certain level of honesty and transparency, and then some, maybe a little bit of courage to acknowledge those things. Thank you for saying that, Sutton. Hopefully your recovery will be speedy and happen in a way that you'll feel better, stronger, faster, like the bionic. I think you're old enough to remember this. Bionic man, bionic woman. You're gonna be the bionic woman. All right. And yes, Sutton, I know you continue to be older than me, but it's okay. You'll get through it. Inside joke for folks who don't know. Sutton, I've known for quite a long time, and I constantly introduce her as someone who's older than me, but she's actually younger than me, I'll be honest, at least today. And so I'll do, just for, we're kind of running out of time, and so, again, we had 3 sets of cards. We have the grounding cards, we have the engagement cards, which is the majority of our experience today, and then we had our celebration cards. I do want to let you know we'll be returning here again next week. I know it's right before the Thanksgiving holiday, but out of discipline and consistency, I'll be here again next week at the same time at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Encourage you to share this opportunity with others who might want to learn about this, who might be interested in what this has to offer, how it might be a good tool. This is a great space. It's almost like office hours where people can actually ask questions, see what the experience looks like, and then kind of decide what the direction they want to take. I do want to say, as I wrap things up, I just want to let you know how much I appreciate you being here today. Whether you're here live with us right now or you watch this video later on, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you. One of the things I've learned came to me earlier this year, the beginning of the year, when I made a trip to South Africa and another one as well with my brother to Brazil. And one of the things that I'm constantly thinking about is how the impact people have on me. Right, and the things I learn and the things I take away from those experiences, hopefully to become a better person. But one of the things I was reminded by a person is that there's also the things that you leave. Right, it's not just what you receive and gain and hopefully grow from, but it's also the gifts that you share with others. And my hope and what I'm sharing with you today is that today I hope that you walked away with something, but you also were able to give something that was of value, and sitting through this experience and sharing with others or hearing the different stories. And so hopefully it's a symbiotic relationship. And so I want to show my appreciation and gratitude for you being here and sharing in this experience. So a few things. Go out and get your Djembe Card Deck if you haven't had one. If the holidays are coming, so feel free to purchase one so you can send it to a friend or a family member or a colleague or a supervisor who you think might want to use this tool. I want to encourage people to host Djembe parties. I sent out an email to a lot of my friends and others, customers who have actually purchased the card deck already, encouraging them to actually have Djembe parties. It's nothing like bringing your friends, colleagues, family members together and actually, breaking bread with one another, maybe having a drink, I'm going to take a drink now. My Uncle Nearest, one of my favorite drinks, because it's got to celebrate somehow, right? And so have your djembe party using the card deck with your friends and learning it and deepening your understanding. The last thing to say with you, if you don't follow me already, feel free to follow me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You can follow me personally at Kazique, Kazique. There's Djembe Deck. Also there's my consulting firm, Jelani Consulting, or Jelani Consult. Any one of those, feel free to join me and follow us. We have content, whether it be videos that we share information, hopefully nuggets of wisdom that I share with you in my work around diversity, equity, and inclusion, insights about the value of the Djembe Card Deck. And so feel free to join us there. With that said, again, thank you so much for joining us. This is the very first one. Oh, hey, Brian. It's good to see you. Thanks for saying hi. It's good to see you. Appreciate you. And I'll hopefully be talking or texting with either one of y'all soon. But with that said, wrapping things up, thank you so much. Appreciate you. And hopefully see you next week, Tuesday. This will be November the 26th. November 26th, next week at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. You have a great day. See you next time. Bye.